Well, good Sunday morning, everyone, and thank you for watching Beyond the Headlines. Well, 47 is the new 45. For the second time in the last 8 years, voters send Donald Trump back to the White House as the 47th president of the United States. And in Webb County, a historical shift marked by a red turn. Not everybody saw it coming, but maybe the man himself.
Mr. Trump, from Laredo. Mr. Trump.
Oh, Laredo,
Yes.
I love Laredo.
I'm glad.
Go ahead.
I'm glad.
The mayor is great in Laredo.
Yes, we know that.
Tell him I said that. Great job, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Trump.
And nearly 10 years later, the feeling was mutual. As the vote continues to come in, Donald Trump appears to be on track to win the popular vote. Not just that, though, current projections suggest that Republicans are likely to secure a majority in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. And in Webb County, a stunning result with historical implications. At the top of the ticket, just over 33,000 Webb County voters cast their ballot for the Republican ticket, capturing just more than 50%. In comparison, Vice President Harris and Tim Walz received just under 32,000 votes, good for a little over 48%. But Donald Trump's win needs some historical and cultural perspective. The last time Webb County voted red in the presidential ticket, when Webb County voted for William Howard Taft in the 1912 presidential election. Gas was an average of 18 cents a gallon. Tarzan was flying off the letterpress. Oreos hit the market for the first time. The most famous athlete was Jim Thorpe, and you couldn't go anywhere without being recognized if you weren't Albert Einstein and Marie Curie. But who are these voters? Well, we went around town to see what they had to say from both sides.
Surprised Webb County turned red, but not surprised he won the election. I'm 21, about to turn 22 in a couple months. Hopefully in the next 4 years I would like to have my own place, and I would like the prices of housing to go down.
My impression is that Webb County and Laredo has always been Democrat, so I was surprised and I'm not happy about the outcome. He's trying to make changes on the tariff, and Laredo depends a lot of import and export.
I was in shock, but I feel like I'm part of that group because I did vote for the Republican in the presidency. Like the oil fields, because I have family members that work there. But I noticed that when they did the shift with Joe Biden, like that went down.
Well, that's where we are going to begin this morning. On our panel this morning, we've got Luis Villarreal. He's the general manager of KGNS. We also have Jerry Garza, familiar face, KGNS political contributor, former Webb County commissioner as well. We have Luis de la Garza with us. He is the former Republican chair party. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Good to see you guys. So where do we start? We have a lot to unpack this morning. Lots of layers there. Who wants to begin? I know.
I'll start it off, and first of all, thank you for the invitation, and then for KGNS for inviting me here. But I can start by saying how sweet it is. And after 110 years, 120 years, we're having the Webb County turn red, which is historical in itself, and we're very, very happy to see that the people came out to vote. And we have always said, you know, this is a conservative area, this is a conservative town with limited liberalism, and it has shown finally. The red wave that was anticipated 4 years ago finally came through this year.
How much of it is the party moving towards Laredo as opposed to Laredo moving towards the party? Let me put it to you this way, how much of it is the Democrat Party moving away from the center more into a leftist extremist?
Yes. Let me start by saying, first of all, the candidate himself, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, had a tremendous amount to do with the people voting the way they did. I would think that more Democrats are moving away because they want to be more center, and that's what we're seeing across the nation. We're seeing that the movement is towards the center, so we can be more coherent with what needs to happen across the country.
Well, I don't think it was the person, though. I think it was just a confluence of events that came together, and it was a series of unfortunate events, right, for Democrats. It was a bad economy. It was inflation. It was immigration. It was a confluence of things that just came together and said, because you heard it everywhere. Yeah. I don't like this guy.
Yeah. Yes.
Even
Yeah.
Republicans saying,
Yes.
I don't like this guy. This
That's
guy's
true.
a terrible guy. He's a convict. He's all this.
Yes.
But I still think that he can fix the economy.
Yeah.
I still think that he can fix this, and I can still and everything that people were upset about. I think that they said I have no other choice but to do this. But I think given another choice, they probably would have done it. But now I will say this: it's unified government. By all practical purposes, and it's happened more times than people think, and
It
you know
has.
it happened. And I was going to. It's happened 25 times in the history of the United States, unified government. But I will say this: the Republicans have 2 years to fix, at least 2 years to fix things,
Yes.
and they have nobody to blame but themselves moving forward, and it's all on them now. And so it's time to
Well, I
do
think-
what they say they were going to do.
Yeah.
And I will say that one thing's for sure. If history shows us anything, it's any party that has unified government will screw it up. It's happened. It happened when the Democrats had
It
unified
almost
government.
sounds like wishful thinking.
No. Historically, they always do because they get too cocky. They get too comfortable with everything, and they want to push the envelope to where people say, you know what, no. We got to go back the other way.
Yeah. Well, I think that we're moving in a direction that the people want. There's a mandate from the public, and the voting showed that. And so we're going to be moving forward in a sense that will make common sense. We want to go back to common sense rules and order.
Okay, I want to ask you very quickly, or not ask you, but comment on this mandate.
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk about Webb County, and the number is what? 50 point what?
50.7.
50.7. Okay, so that still is half and half.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
it's not like you missed the field goal because you hit the goalpost and all of a sudden you lost the Super Bowl. I mean, doesn't mean you were a terrible team. You just lost it by a little bit. So there's still 50% of the people that are on the other side. And so I have a problem in general with the concept that just because there's a majority, a slim majority,
Right.
all of a sudden everybody else can be discounted.
Well, I think we're once again, this is the first time in many years, so we're starting to see that shift.
Yeah.
And that's what's important, that we all get together, get centered, and work a common goal. And is I think and that's what I mean by the mandate. The people, the public, the voting public wants us to let's negotiate about what needs to happen across and reach across the aisle.
Look, and if there's one thing that we learned, it's the James Carville, said it. It's the economy, stupid, right? And nothing else matters when people are having issues paying their bills, when inflation was the way it was, and whatnot. It's the economy, and so. There was this one map that came out that showed how inflation hit worse, and it was Pennsylvania. And I saw that, and I said, if I would have seen this a week ago, I would have told you that the election was going to go the way it did.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in another federal race, Congressman Henry Cuellar is reelected to his 11th term in Congress. But it wasn't a close victory as other elections, as the race was decided by a little over 10,000 votes and 5 percentage points. As for looking ahead, the sitting congressman says his party needs to do a little soul searching if they want to get back on track.
And I've been talking about this undercurrent tension with Hispanics not liking what's happening at the border. And I think the dam broke this year where we saw so many Hispanics vote for Trump. And they're not going to be listening, without due respect, to all the celebrities that the Democrats were bringing in.
Talk a little bit about that because Henry did win his seat. So Webb County didn't necessarily go red across the board. Henry won his seat. I think Colin Allred might have won Webb County as well. So you're absolutely right when you said it was at the top because of things that Trump has said he was going to fix. But what Henry said right now about the dam breaking, what do you all think about that?
I think, you've been feeling the infighting inside the Democrats for quite some time. I think, if anything, the Republican Party, right or wrong, and whether you like it or not, was able to coalesce better into whatever the message was. The Democrats have been infighting for quite some time with their extremists a little more than the Republicans have. And I think at some point, I think this is a result of that. I think it splintered the party. And you had instances even here near to our home in District 80 of the state reps race, that you had some Democrats supporting the Republican candidate because of internal issues. And so it is definitely a wake-up call, and I think it also points to maybe how unimportant all these other issues are that, you know, maybe we shouldn't be paying too much attention to.
Well, I had an opportunity to visit with Henry after the election, and we were talking about the state of the Democratic Party. And look, the Democrats, I think there's blame all across the board, you know, from the local party leadership all the way to the top. And the one thing that we talked about is, look, the Democratic Party is taking on issues that people don't care about, or issues that you only that you only tackle when everything else has been taken care of, right?
That's right.
You know, all these other things don't matter when, again, I can't pay my bills, or my wages aren't increasing. But the Democratic Party is running into the issue of they want the electorate to adapt to the party, and no. If the Democrats want to get their act in order, the party has to adapt to the people, and they have to adapt to what the people are wanting and the problems that people are facing. If they don't do that, this is not going to correct itself, and it's not going to get fixed. And you may have well hand everything else to the Republicans. I laugh every time. This is the year Texas is going to go blue. This is the year. And you know what? Every year it gets worse and worse. It gets worse and worse. You know what? Way to go, Democrats.
You know, and I think that's part of the shift that we're starting to see that I spoke of earlier, that they need to go more center. And so we can both parties come to a consensus and move forward to see what's better for the constituency of our nation.
Okay. Where do you think that the Webb County Democratic Party goes from here? What do you think they should focus on or do now?
I think, one, they need to focus on unifying themselves. I mean, if you look at the state of the Democratic Party right now, you have the Democratic Party and you have a whole bunch of splinter groups affiliated with the Democratic Party.
Is that here in
and that is here in Webb County. I mean, if you look at it, they have the Democratic Party, and they have different chapters of Border Tejanos, Part 1, Part 2, and you know, because
they're almost like LULAC councils, right?
They just keep. But you know what? They need to unify. And as if I was the Democratic leader, I would say, you know what? Even the most liberal or most conservative Democrat is better than the most conservative Republican or most liberal Republican. And I'd rather be able to coalesce around 50% of the issues, because I know if I have Republicans there, I'm going to have 0% of the issues. But we work we live in a day where it's all or nothing. And that's the problem. And that's the problem.
There's no gray area.
There's no gray area.
And absolutely, I totally agree with that we need to again go back and come to the center and be able to negotiate. You know, it's okay to disagree.
You need the extremes.
You do.
You need people pulling. Otherwise, it becomes a problem too. So I'm not saying you don't need them. It's just, you know, there's more of us in the middle than there are on the sides.
People don't realize that, you know, and my good friend here, Luis, was Republican county chair. I've run as a Democrat. I've served as Democrat, and I've been a card-carrying Democrat, although a little embarrassing lately, right? But, you know, we can sit down and have a great conversation and talk about the things. That doesn't happen in Washington.
Exactly. And I think that's part of where we need to come to. We need to come to something. You know, the Republican Party per se is a small group of people that have been out there really knocking on doors, you know, the precinct chairs, the officers, and they've been doing their job because they really care. They're really true patriots about what we need to do here. So we're trying to reach across and say, look, you know, we have an agenda that's good for the local people. So come take
Maybe you and I need to run.
There you go.
Well, when we come back, more election fallout with races around the state, and we will tackle City Council. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Well, in one of the most closely watched races around the state, District 80 flips into Republican hands. Former Uvalde Mayor Don McLaughlin won against Cecilia Castellano for the vacant seat, becoming the first Republican to hold the district in over 20 years. Now, that's despite losing Webb County, which voted for Cecilia Castellano by more than 1,000 votes. So, This was a watched seat. Republicans have been wanting to turn it for quite some time now. Tracy King was a Democrat. He's held that seat for quite a number of years, but he was a very conservative Democrat and very well loved in that area.
He was very well loved.
But you know, it was an opportunity to switch from blue to red, and they sure took advantage of that. And you actually ran for this seat some years ago.
Yeah, and the, you know, the demographics though of the way they redrew District 80 has changed, and although Webb County has about 50% of the electorate in District 80, it's not what it used to be. I remember when I ran for the seat, Webb County represented a much larger percent. I think it was closer to 70%.
But it's still the largest single entity.
It is yes, that is correct.
There's more voters out of Webb County in the entire
but it's about half the district.
Right.
And it used to be closer to about 65, 68% of the district, and that was
when they went through redistricting, they took Webb County a little bit out of that seat.
And so that really diluted any opportunity. Look, this had everything to do, I think, for the most part, of the top of the ticket, helping out Don McLaughlin with the win.
But like Mindy just said, it didn't do the same for. I mean, the Webb County did not vote for Ted Cruz or for. Or for Jay Furman.
But this is also where I come back to the Democrats have a unification issue. They have a unity issue because there was a lot of Democrats in town who did not support the Democratic candidate.
I agreed.
And a lot.
And they came out in pictures. They weren't even hiding the fact that they were supporting Don McLaughlin. No, but it just goes back to the point that, you know, there was some issues in fragmentation.
Allegiance to the party should not be paramount. People should, whether they're inside the party or not, the party is not who you should be,
Supporting.
You're
Support the
supposed to support not even you are either for your community. What's best for my community? What's best for the country? What's best for the state? And if you are going to make decisions based on your party before anything else, that's a problem. So I actually like it when there is dissension inside the party, because at least it gives the perception that there is a little bit a more interest in something else other than just allegiance to the party.
Obviously, folks thought that, based on what you're saying, McLaughlin was going to be better for the part of Webb County that he would support.
Well, unfortunately, I think there are other reasons, internal reasons as to why there were splinters in the Democrats. But so, if you're just looking at it from the outside, I don't think that is a bad thing. But unfortunately, we do know that the reasons behind the dissension were not necessarily in the best interest of the county or the district.
And one of the big issues for that district particular is the 4-5 bridge. It falls in that particular area so that's monumental about what needs to happen there.
Well, and then the other thing is Atascosa was part of that district, which was not part of the district prior, and so Atascosa is predominantly much more red than
it is.
You know, Zapata was taken out of the district, so you know that was a very blue leading county as well. That was taken out of the district, and Atascosa brought in, and so you traded out a blue county for a red county, and so that had a lot to do with it also.
And Zapata went red 4 years ago. They went red.
It's their second time of going red.
Star went red for the first time since 18 something.
And then the other thing, there was a lot of money pumped into that race too.
Yes, there was.
A lot of money.
The focus was on flipping that seat.
And we're not talking necessarily money for advertising, although there was
some.
I'm talking about money to pay people on the ground.
Okay.
For workers and the poll watchers and.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to city council races. One of the more watched races in Laredo Tuesday was the race for city council District 4. Now, the position was an open seat with the current council member, Alberto Torres. He had termed out after 8 years, so that means that this seat was an open seat. Now, none of the candidates received more than 50% of the vote. Therefore, the top two are headed to a runoff. Those individuals are Rick Garza. He garnered 33% of the vote, while Tanya Benavides garnered 29% of the vote. Now, another city council incumbent who will hold on to their position is council member for District 5, Ruben Gutierrez. He was up against two other candidates, Jesse Perez and Jose Ovando. However, Ruben was able to secure 58% of the vote, avoiding a runoff. In the City Council District 7 seat, incumbent Vanessa Perez will continue to be the representative as she received 51% of the vote. She beat out Michelle Molina, who got 41% of the vote, and Flipper Ramirez walked away with 7%. For District 8, there were 4 candidates on the ballot: incumbent Alyssa Cigarroa, Horacio Palacios, Sergio Dorantes, and Luxandra Guerra. And Cigarroa, Alyssa, easily won her seat with over 75% of the vote. Now, in her time of office, she has touted issues such as the Lafayette Bridge mural, and she has been a staunch supporter for the arts and health care. So, any surprising results in these particular races?
I don't think there are any surprises.
Yeah.
I mean,
Everyone
maybe,
who won, you anticipated
I'll tell you
winning.
what did kind of surprise me was the fact that all of the water boil notice and everything that had been going on during the election didn't affect many of the incumbents. The incumbents, were able to win quite handily. Not against a one-on-one, but on a field of candidates. And so that if there is a surprise, it was that really didn't come into play for whatever reason with the election.
Mm-hmm. What about District 4? There were a lot of folks there on, wanting to fill that seat, including, social media influencer Gordi Loca. Lots of people thought that she would do better because of the number of followers that she has. But I think that goes back to what folks say about, when you have followers like that, do they actually translate to voters, especially if they don't live in that particular district?
Well, and then the other variable there was that it was a write-in,
write-in candidate.
or a type-in candidate.
Yeah.
In this case, that you'd kind of wonder, okay, how much did that come into play? And she didn't come in at the bottom. She actually came. She came in third.
Yeah, third.
In everything. So. Or fourth. She came in fourth. There was 2 other candidates below her, but just the fact that a write-in was able to, usually see write-ins at the bottom.
Garner a lot of votes.
Elisa Cigarroa won as a write-in in her first term. So.
But generally speaking, it makes you wonder if the name would have been, just a push the button, how that would have
Played out
influenced,
on
how that would have played out.
Mm-hmm. Big changes on LC board too.
Oh, the LC board,
And
very
UISD.
surprising.
That was
Very surprising for 2 incumbents to lose their seats, especially in positions that really don't garner a lot of attention. You really don't hear a lot about Board of Trustees, or at least the Laredo College ones. We do hear about the UISD and LISD ones, but that was very surprising.
Well, and they campaigned on the sports issue, the
Doing
the
away
sports
with the
department
athletics.
with that, and so you begin to wonder: is this now a wake-up call to LC to revisit that? Because that was
it's a very complicated issue, because it at the end of the day is about funding.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't think anybody is.
Everybody's in favor of the sport.
The sport.
So
Just how do you pay for
it? But that's
how do you pay for it? At the expense of what?
It comes back to us.
If you're going to have to make a choice between a classroom and a court, at some point you're going to have to make a tough choice.
Yeah. I want to talk just real briefly about what happened over at UISD. We have 2 incumbents who lost their seats. Coincidence that these 2 incumbents have made the news lately. I mean, it was Frank Castillo who lost his seat, and Rick Rodriguez. We've done stories on Mr. Rodriguez with the association that he's had with contracts for the COVID sterilization, and both of them lost their seats. And what do you guys make of that? People just finally decided for a change.
The interesting thing, he didn't lose it by a lot.
It was literally a couple of people.
It was 19 votes.
It was 19 votes.
It was 19 votes. Yeah.
So it wasn't a lot. And so while I'm not necessarily surprised that he lost, I'm surprised that he came that close to actually winning, despite everything that has been reported.
However, since it's just a plurality, there's still 60% of the people who didn't want them.
Yeah, definitely. Okie doke. Well, interesting times that we are about to.
We'll see where we go in 2 years, and if history shows us anything, You know, what was it, 6 years ago, everybody thought the Republican Party was dead. And look what happened now. Look, this ebbs and flows, and this is just one of those ebbs. And you know, if anything is certain, is that this is going to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Laredo continues to grow, and we need that diversity and different talk to come in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Well, that does it for us with this special Beyond the Headlines post-election. Beyond the Headlines, we want to thank Jerry and Luis, of course, for joining us. We will see you right back here next Sunday.